Yuna woke up in the medical bay with bandages on her hand and confusion in her heart. The doctors had kept her overnight for observation. They had cleaned her wound properly and given her medicine for the pain. For the first time in days, her hand did not hurt so much, but something felt wrong. Where were the cubs? She tried to get up, but a nurse pushed her gently back onto the bed. "Rest," the nurse said. "Your little ones are safe. They are with Commander Yeri." "Commander Yeri?" Yuna was confused. Why would the station commander be taking care of her cubs? What happened? "Is everything okay?" The nurse smiled mysteriously. "Everything is fine. Better than fine, actually. But I will let them explain." An hour later, the door to the medical bay opened. Yuna looked up, expecting to see the cubs. But instead, she saw a crowd. Commander Yeri walked in first, her golden fur gleaming under the lights. Behind her came a dozen other Filari, adult members of the crew. Engineers, officers, teachers. All of them were looking at Yuna with something strange in their eyes. And in the front of the group, holding hands, were Rico, Bomi, and Tay. "What is going on?" Yuna asked. Her voice was shaking. "Why are all these people here?" Commander Yeri stepped forward. She carried something in her arms. A small wooden box, carved with ancient Filari symbols. "Yuna of Earth," she said formally. "We are here to honor you." "Honor me? I do not understand. 3 days ago, you risked your life to save 3 Filari cubs. You threw your body between them and the fire. You suffered terrible burns to protect them. And then," Yeri paused. Her amber eyes were warm. "And then you hid your pain. You wrapped your wounds in secret. You pretended everything was fine. All because you did not want the cubs to worry." Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. I did not want them to be scared. We know. That is what makes you special." Yeri opened the wooden box. Inside was a necklace. It was made of silver, with a pendant shaped like a paw print. But instead of being plain, the paw print was wrapped in flames. Fire and protection, joined together. "This is the mark of the Pack Mother," Yeri explained. "It is an ancient Filari tradition. When someone outside our species shows extraordinary love and sacrifice for our young, we honor them with this symbol. We declare them one of us. We declare them family." Yuna could not speak. Her throat was too tight with emotion. Rico stepped forward. His eyes were bright and proud. "Yuna," he said, "when our parents died, we thought we would never have a family again. We thought we would always be alone. But then you came. You held us when we cried. You made us laugh when we were sad. You protected us when we were in danger." Bomi came next, her orange fur shining like autumn leaves. "You never treated us like we were different," she said. "You never acted like we were just a job. You loved us. Really loved us. We could feel it every day." Little Tay was the last to speak. He walked up to Yuna's bed and took her bandaged hand in his small paws. He was gentle, careful not to hurt her. "You got burned because of us," he said. His voice was steady now. "No more tears. You suffered pain to keep us safe. That is what a mother does. That is what family does." He looked into her eyes. "Will you be our Pack Mother? Will you be our family? Forever?" Yuna could not hold back anymore. The tears flowed freely down her cheeks. She pulled Tay into her arms, ignoring the pain in her hand. She did not care about the pain anymore. All she cared about was this moment. This feeling. This love. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will be your family. Forever and always." The other cubs rushed forward, and suddenly Yuna was buried under a pile of warm fur and happy tears. Rico's strong arms wrapped around her shoulders. Bomi's soft fur pressed against her cheek. Tay's small body curled against her heart. Commander Yeri watched with a smile on her face. She had seen many things in her long life. She had witnessed battles and victories, tragedies and triumphs. But this moment, this simple moment of love between a human woman and 3 orphaned cubs, was one of the most beautiful things she had ever seen. She stepped forward and placed the necklace around Yuna's neck. The silver pendant rested against her chest, cool and heavy with meaning. From this day forward, Yeri announced, Yuna of Earth is recognized as a pack mother of the Falari. She is under our protection. Any who harm her will face the wrath of our people. Any who threaten her will answer to us. The other Falari in the room bowed their heads in respect. Some of them had tears in their eyes, too. They had all heard the story. They all knew what Yuna had done. There is one more thing, Yeri said. The cubs told me everything. They conducted their own investigation. They found evidence that the maintenance officer had been falsifying his reports. Because of their work, the man responsible for the fire has been arrested. He will face trial for his negligence. Yuna looked at the cubs in shock. You did that? You found the person who caused the fire? Rico nodded proudly. We had to. Someone hurt our human. We could not let that go. But how? You are just children. We are Falari, Bomi said simply. And you are our pack mother. Protecting you is our duty. Besides, Tay added quietly, you always protect us. It was time for us to protect you. Yuna laughed through her tears. She hugged them tighter, pressing her face into their soft fur. I do not deserve you, she said. I do not deserve any of this. Yes, you do, Rico said firmly. You deserve everything. And we are going to make sure you get it. The ceremony ended, but the celebration continued. The Falari crew members came forward one by one to congratulate Yuna. They touched her hand gently, carefully avoiding her bandages. They spoke words of thanks and respect. They welcomed her into their family. That night, Yuna was released from the medical bay. She walked back to her quarters with the cubs by her side. The necklace hung around her neck, a constant reminder of what had happened. When they reached their room, the cubs refused to leave her side. They all climbed into her bed together, curling up around her like a pile of warm blankets. Is this okay? Bomi asked sleepily. We want to stay with you tonight. Of course it is okay, Yuna said. It is more than okay. It is perfect. Rico rested his head on her shoulder. We will never let anyone hurt you again. We promise. And I promise to always protect you, Yuna replied. No matter what. Tay was already falling asleep, his small body rising and falling with each breath. But he mumbled something before drifting off completely. Love you, Pack Mother. Yuna felt her heart swell until she thought it might burst. She kissed the top of his head gently. I love you too, my little one. I love all of you, more than you will ever know. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless dance. The station moved slowly through the void, carrying its precious cargo toward distant worlds. And inside a small room, a human woman and 3 Falari cubs slept peacefully together. A family. A pack. Bound not by blood, but by something stronger, not by love, not by sacrifice, not by the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children, and somewhere in the galaxy, the story of the human pack mother began to spread. The story of a woman who burned her hand to save 3 cubs. The story of children who fought to protect their human. The story of how family can be found in the most unexpected places. It was a story worth telling. A story worth remembering. A story that proved, once and for all, that humans were worth protecting too. Commander Yeri was in her office when the cubs arrived. She was a tall Falari with golden fur that shone like sunlight. Her eyes were the color of amber, and they held the wisdom of many years. She had served in the Falari military for decades before taking this position on the nursery station. When her door opened and 3 small cubs walked in, she was surprised. Children did not usually visit the command center. They were not supposed to be here at all. "What is this?" she asked, her voice firm but not unkind. "You cubs should be with your caretaker." "Please, Commander." Rico stepped forward. He was trying to be brave, but his tail was shaking slightly. "We need to talk to you. It is important." Yuri looked at the 3 cubs. She saw something in their eyes. Determination, anger, fear. These were not children playing a game. Something serious had happened. "Come in," she said. "Close the door." The cubs entered and stood before her desk. Rico held the folder tight against his chest. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "Our caretaker is a human named Yuna," he said. "3 days ago, there was a fire in Section 7. A reactor pipe burst. Yuna saved us from the flames. She pushed us out of the room and shielded us with her body." Yuri nodded slowly. She remembered the incident report. A minor fire in the living quarters. No casualties. Property damage only. "Go on," she said. Yuna was hurt. She burned her hand badly, but she did not tell anyone. She hid it from us. She wrapped it in bandages and pretended everything was fine. "Why would she do that?" "Because she did not want us to worry," Bomi spoke up. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Because she loves us more than herself." Yeri felt something stir in her heart. Humans were strange creatures. They were soft and weak compared to Falari. They had no claws, no fangs, no fur to protect them. But their hearts were stronger than steel. "We found out the truth yesterday," Rico continued, "and we decided to investigate. We wanted to know why the fire happened. We wanted to know who was responsible." He placed the folder on Yeri's desk. "This is what we found." Yeri opened the folder and began to read. Her amber eyes moved across the pages. At first, her face showed nothing. But as she continued reading, her expression changed. Her jaw tightened. Her fur began to bristle. A low growl formed in her throat. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "From the maintenance office," Bomi admitted. "I took it from Day's filing cabinet." "You stole evidence from a station officer?" The cubs looked down. They knew they had broken the rules. They were ready to be punished. But Yeri did not punish them. Instead, she stood up and walked to the window. She stared out at the stars for a long moment. "These reports are falsified," she said quietly. "The same words, the same numbers, copied again and again. Day has not done a real inspection in months." "Maybe longer." "Yes, Commander," Rico said. "Because of his negligence, a reactor pipe failed. A fire started. And a human woman was burned while protecting Falari cubs." "Yes, Commander." Yeri turned around. Her eyes were blazing with fury. "This is unacceptable. This is a violation of everything we stand for. A Falari would rather die than fail their duty. And this man, this coward, he let others suffer for his laziness." She pressed a button on her desk. A voice came through the speaker. "Yes, Commander?" "Send security to the maintenance bay. I want Day brought to my office immediately. And contact the station administrator. Tell him we have a serious situation." "Understood, Commander." Yuri looked at the cubs. Her eyes softened just a little. "You 3 did well. You found the truth when no one else was looking. Your caretaker should be proud of you." "She does not know," Tay said quietly. "We did not tell her what we were doing. Then she will be surprised." Yeri almost smiled. Humans do not expect their young ones to fight for them. But Falari cubs are different. We protect our pack, always. 20 minutes later, Day was brought to the command center. He was a thin man with nervous eyes and dirty clothes. He looked confused when he saw the cubs standing beside the commander. "What is going on?" he asked. "Why am I here?" Yeri threw the folder on the table in front of him. The papers scattered across the surface. "Explain these," she said. They looked at the reports. His face went pale. I do not know what you mean. Do not lie to me." Yeri's voice was cold as ice. "These reports are fake. You copied them from old inspections. You did not check the reactors in Section 7 for months." "That is not true. I did my job. I checked everything." "Then why did the reactor fail? Why did a pipe burst in a section that was supposedly inspected last month?" Day had no answer. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Because of your negligence," Yeri continued, "a fire broke out in the living quarters. 3 Filari cubs were nearly killed. And their human caretaker." She paused, her claws digging into the desk. "Their human caretaker was burned. She suffered serious injuries protecting our young. I did not know. I did not think." "You did not think. You are right about that. You did not think that your actions would have consequences. You did not think that your laziness would hurt others." The station administrator arrived. He was an older human man with white hair and tired eyes. He listened as Yeri explained the situation. When she showed him the falsified reports, his face turned red with anger. "This is criminal negligence," he said. "Day, you are relieved of duty immediately. Security will escort you to the holding cells. You will be sent to the nearest station for trial." "No, please." Day fell to his knees. "It was a mistake. I did not mean for anyone to get hurt." "That does not matter," the administrator said. "Your mistakes have consequences. You will face justice for what you have done." Security officers took Day away. He was crying and begging, but no one listened. The door closed behind him, and silence filled the room. Yeri knelt down to look at the cubs. Her fierce expression had softened. "You did a brave thing today," she said. "You stood up for your caretaker. You fought for justice. That is the Filari way." "We just wanted to protect her," Rico said, "like she protected us." "And you did. You protected her honor. You made sure the person who hurt her was punished. But her hand is still burned," Bomi said sadly. "We cannot fix that." "No, but you can show her that she is not alone. You can show her that she is part of a pack. And in a pack, we take care of each other." Tay stepped forward. His golden eyes were shining with tears. "Is she really part of our pack?" he asked. "Even though she is human?" Yuri smiled. It was a rare thing, seeing a Filari commander smile. But in that moment, looking at the small white cub with the big heart, she could not help herself. "Little one," she said, "being part of a pack has nothing to do with what species you are. It is about love. It is about loyalty. It is about protecting each other no matter what. And from what I have seen, your human has shown all of those things." She stood up and looked out the window again. "In fact, I think it is time we showed her just how much she means to all of us." The cubs began their investigation that very afternoon. Rico was the leader. He made the plans and gave the orders. Bomi was the scout. Her small size and curious nature let her go places others could not. Tay was the watcher. He sat quietly in corners and listened to conversations that adults thought were private. Their first mission was simple: find out who was responsible for the reactor in Section 7.BOM. I went to the engineering bay. She pretended to be lost, wandering the halls with wide, innocent eyes. The engineers thought she was cute. They answered her questions without thinking. "Excuse me," she said to a tall alien with blue skin. "Can you help me?" "I am looking for my room." "Of course, little one," the engineer smiled. "Where do you live?" "Section 7, where the fire happened." The engineer's smile faded. "Ah, that was a bad day. But do not worry. We fixed everything. What caused the fire?" Bomi asked, tilting her head like a confused child. "A reactor pipe burst. It was old and worn out. But does someone not check the pipes to make sure they are safe? The engineer nodded. Yes, there is an inspection schedule. Someone checks every section every month. Who checks section 7? The engineer paused. He looked at Bomi with suspicious eyes. But she kept her face innocent and sweet. Just a curious little cub asking questions. His name is Day, the engineer said finally. He is the maintenance officer for that area. Bomi thanked the engineer and skipped away. Her heart was racing with excitement. They had a name now, Day. Meanwhile, Tay was doing his own work. He had found a quiet spot near the command center. Adults walked past him without noticing. They were too busy to care about a small white cub sitting in the corner. He listened to their conversations. Most of it was boring. Reports about supplies, schedules for arrivals and departures. But then he heard something interesting. Two officers were talking near the water dispenser. One was a human man with gray hair. The other was a Falari woman with golden fur. The inspection reports for Section 7, the human said. Have you seen them? The Falari woman shook her head. I asked Day for them yesterday. He said he would send them, but he never did. Strange. The fire should not have happened if the inspections were done correctly. I know. Something is wrong. Either the inspections were not done, or the reports were falsified. That is a serious accusation. I am not accusing anyone yet, but we need to look into this. Tay's ears perked up. This was important information. He memorized every word and then quietly left his hiding spot. That evening, the 3 cubs met in their room. Yuna was in the medical bay. The doctors had finally convinced her to let them treat her hand properly. The cubs had a few hours alone. Rico spread out a piece of paper on the floor. He had drawn a simple map of the station. Here is what we know, he said. The fire was caused by a broken reactor pipe in Section 7. A maintenance officer named Day is responsible for checking that section. But the Falari commander thinks the inspections may not have been done. So Day did not do his job, Bomi said. And because of that, the pipe broke. And because of that, Yuna got hurt. We cannot say for sure yet, Rico said. We need more evidence. I can find evidence, Bomi offered. I can sneak into the maintenance office and look at the reports. That is too dangerous. If you get caught, I will not get caught. I am small and fast. Rico thought about it. He did not like putting his sister in danger. But they needed those reports. Okay, he said finally. But be careful. And if anything goes wrong, you run. Do you understand? Bomi nodded. Her orange fur was standing up with excitement. The next morning, Bomi put her plan into action. The maintenance office was on the lower deck. It was a small room filled with computers and filing cabinets. Day was supposed to be there, but Bomi had timed it perfectly. She knew he took a long break every morning to eat breakfast. She slipped through the door and looked around. The room was messy. Papers were scattered everywhere. Old food containers sat on the desk. It smelled bad. Bomi wrinkled her nose and started searching. She did not know exactly what she was looking for. Something that proved Day had not done his job. Something that explained why the reactor had broken. She found it in the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. It was a folder labeled Section 7 Inspections. Inside were dozens of reports. Each one had a date and a signature. Bomi looked at the most recent ones. Her blood ran cold. The reports were filled out, but they were all the same. The exact same words. The exact same numbers. The exact same handwriting. Day had not actually done the inspections. He had just copied old reports and changed the dates. For months, maybe years, he'd been lying. He had been pretending to check the reactors when he was actually doing nothing. And because of his laziness, A pipe had burst. A room had caught fire, and Yuna had been burned. Bomi grabbed the folder and ran. She met her brothers in the common room. She was out of breath, but her eyes were blazing with anger. "I found it," she said. "I found the proof." She showed them the reports. Rico's claws came out as he read them. Tay's white fur stood on end. They could see what Bomi had seen. They could see the truth. "He lied," Rico growled. "He lied about everything. Yuna got hurt because of him," Bomi said. "Because he was too lazy to do his job. What do we do now?" Tay asked. Rico looked at the folder in his paws. This was important evidence. They could take it to the commander. They could show everyone what they had done. But would anyone listen to 3 cubs? Then he remembered something. The Falari officer that Tay had heard talking. She was already suspicious of Tay. She was already looking for answers. And she was a Falari. She would understand. "We take this to Commander Yeri," Rico decided. "She is Falari. She is one of us. She will listen, and she will make Tay pay," Bomi added. "Yes," Rico nodded. His golden eyes were hard as stone. "She will make him pay for what he did to our human." The cubs gathered the evidence and prepared to make their move. They did not know what would happen next. They did not know how the adults would react. But they knew one thing for certain. They would get justice for Yuna, no matter what it took. 3 days passed since the fire. The station had returned to normal. The broken wall was repaired. The damaged reactor pipe was replaced. Life went on as if nothing had happened, but something had changed. Yuna was different, and the cubs could feel it. Rico noticed it first. He was the oldest, almost 8 years old in human years. His instincts were sharp. He watched Yuna move around the room and saw how she kept her right hand close to her body. She always used her left hand now. When she poured their drinks, she used her left hand. When she brushed Bomi's fur, she used her left hand. When she helped Tay with his homework, she wrote with her left hand that something was wrong with her right hand. Bomi noticed the smell. Falari had very strong noses. They could smell things that humans could not even imagine. And for the past 3 days, Bomi had been smelling something strange on Yuna. It was a sharp, bitter smell. It was the smell of burned flesh. The smell of pain. Tay noticed the small things. He was quiet, but he watched everything. He saw how Yuna's face changed when she thought no one was looking. Her smile would disappear. Her eyes would close tight. Her jaw would clench. She was hurting. She was hiding it well, but she was hurting. The 3 cubs did not say anything at first. They were not sure what they had seen. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe Yuna was just tired. The fire had scared everyone. Perhaps she just needed some rest. But then it happened. It was breakfast time. Yuna had made their favorite meal. Sweet rice cakes with honey. She carried the plates to the table, balancing them carefully on her left arm. The cubs sat in their chairs, their tails swinging happily behind them. Bomi was excited. She loved sweet rice cakes more than anything. As Yuna put the plate down in front of her, Bomi reached out to hug her. Her small paw grabbed Yuna's right hand. Yuna screamed. It was a short scream. She cut it off almost as soon as it started. But the damage was done. The cubs had heard it. They had seen the flash of pain on her face. They had seen her pull her hand away like it was on fire. Yuna? Rico stood up from his chair. His eyes were wide. What happened? Are you okay? I am fine, Yuna said quickly. She hid her hand behind her back. Bomi just surprised me. That is all. But Bomi was not listening. She was staring at her own paw. There was something on it. Something white. She brought it closer to her nose and sniffed. Medicine. Bandages. Blood. You are hurt, Bomi whispered. Her orange fur stood up in alarm. Yuna, You are hurt." "No, no." Yuna shook her head. She tried to smile. "It is nothing. Just a small cut. I was clumsy in the kitchen." "Show us," Rico said. His voice was calm but firm. It was the voice of a future pack leader. "Show us your hand. Rico, there is no need to. Show us." The room went silent. Yuna looked at the three cubs. Rico's golden eyes were hard and demanding. Bomi's were wet with worry. And little Tay looked scared. So scared. She could not lie to them anymore. Slowly, Yuna brought her right hand out from behind her back. The bandages were wrapped thick around it. But even through the white cloth, they could see the shape of the wound. They could see the yellow stains where medicine had soaked through. They could smell the burned flesh underneath. "It happened during the fire," Yuna said softly. "When the wall exploded, I used my hand to protect myself." "You said you were fine." Bomi's voice cracked. "You told the medic you were fine." "I did not want you to worry." "Worry?" Rico's fur bristled. "You are our caretaker. You are our... He could not find the right word. In Falari, the word he wanted to use meant something more than caretaker. It meant protector. It meant family. "Let me see." Tay spoke for the first time. His voice was small and quiet. "Please." Yuna hesitated. The wound was ugly. She did not want to scare them. But Tay's eyes were begging her. She could not say no to those eyes. Carefully, she began to unwrap the bandages. Layer by layer, the white cloth fell away. And then, the wound was bare. The cubs gasped. The burn covered most of Yuna's palm and fingers. The skin was red and raw. Large blisters had formed and burst, leaving open sores. Some parts were white and dead. It looked painful. It looked horrible. "This happened because of us," Rico whispered. "You got burned because you saved us." "It was worth it," Yuna said. "You are safe. That is all that matters." "No," Bomi shouted. Tears were running down her furry cheeks. "No, it is not all that matters. You matter too, Yuna. You matter to us." Tay walked forward. His small white paws reached out, but he stopped before touching her hand. He looked at the wound with his big golden eyes. Then he did something that broke Yuna's heart. He started to cry. Tay never cried. In all the time Yuna had known him, she had never seen him cry. Not when he had nightmares. Not when the other cubs teased him. Not even when he talked about his dead parents. But now, tears were falling from his eyes like rain. "You got hurt because of me," he said. His voice was shaking. "You got hurt because I was too slow. If I had run faster, you would not have had to push me. You would not have had to stay in the fire." "Tay, no." Yuna knelt down. She ignored the pain in her hand and pulled the small cub into her arms. "This is not your fault. Do you hear me? This is not your fault, but no, I chose to protect you. I chose to stay in that room. Because I love you. I love all three of you. And I would do it again. 100 times. 1,000 times. I would burn my whole body if it meant keeping you safe." The other two cubs joined the hug. Rico pressed his head against Yuna's shoulder. Bomi buried her face in Yuna's neck. They held each other tight, a small family in the middle of the big, empty room. After a long time, Rico pulled back. His eyes were dry now, but there was something new in them, something hard and cold. "Who did this?" he asked. Yuna blinked. "What do you mean?" "The fire. Who caused the fire?" "Someone must be responsible. The reactor did not break by itself." "It was an accident," Yuna said. "The machines are old. Sometimes they break down." "No," Rico shook his head. "Someone is supposed to check the machines." Someone is supposed to make sure they work. Someone did not do their job. And because of that, you got hurt. Rico, please. It does not matter now. It matters to me. The young Falari's claws came out. They were small, but they were sharp. It matters to all of us. Someone hurt our human. And we will find out who. Lomi nodded, her tears drying. Rico is right. We need to know. Even little Tay spoke up. We have to find them. We have to make them say sorry. Yuna looked at the three cubs. They were just children. But in their eyes she saw something ancient and powerful. She saw the spirit of the Falari. The spirit of the pack. The spirit that said, hurt one of us, and you hurt all of us. She should have stopped them. She should have told them to let it go. But looking into their determined faces, she knew it was too late. The cubs had made their decision, and nothing in the galaxy was going to change their minds. The Galactic Nursery Station floated silently in the darkness of space. It was a large ship, built to carry the young ones of many different alien species. The station moved slowly between star systems, bringing families together and taking care of children whose parents worked far away. Yuna was one of the few humans who worked on this station. She was 26 years old, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Her job was simple but important. She took care of the Falari cubs in Section 7. The Falari were a proud species. They looked like large cats that walked on two legs. Their bodies were covered in soft fur of different colors. They had sharp claws and golden eyes that could see in the dark. The Falari were known as fierce warriors throughout the galaxy. But their cubs were just like any other children. They needed love, care, and someone to watch over them. Yuna loved her job. She had been working with the three cubs for almost a year now. There was Rico, the oldest of the three. He was brave and always tried to protect his siblings. His fur was dark gray, almost black. Then there was Bomi, the only female among them. She was curious about everything and asked 1,000 questions every day. Her fur was a beautiful orange color. And finally, there was Tay, the youngest. He was shy and quiet, but he had the biggest heart. His fur was white with small gray spots. The cubs had lost their parents in a terrible accident 2 years ago. A transport ship had exploded, killing hundreds of Falari. The three cubs were the only survivors from their family. They had been alone and scared when they first came to the station. But Yuna had changed that. She remembered the first day she met them. Rico had growled at her, his small claws out and ready to fight. Bomi had hidden behind her brother, peeking at Yuna with wide, frightened eyes. And little Tay had been curled up in the corner, refusing to look at anyone. It took weeks for them to trust her. Yuna never pushed them. She simply sat with them every day, reading stories, bringing them food, and speaking to them in a soft voice. Slowly, the walls around their hearts began to break. Rico stopped growling. Bomi started asking questions. And Tay finally looked at her with something other than fear. Now, a year later, they were like her own children. She tucked them into bed every night. She played with them during the day. She taught them human songs, and they taught her Falari games. The other workers on the station often said that Yuna was more Falari than human. On this particular day, everything seemed normal. The cubs had finished their lessons and were playing in the common room. Yuna sat nearby, watching them with a smile on her face. Rico was teaching Tay how to balance on one foot. Bomi was drawing pictures on a digital pad. The station was old. It had been running for almost 50 years. The machines inside it were tired and worn out. The engineers did their best to keep everything working, but sometimes things broke down. Yuna noticed the smell first. It was a sharp, burning smell that made her nose hurt. She stood up quickly, her eyes scanning the room. The cubs had not noticed yet. They were too busy with their games. Then she saw it. One of the wall panels near the cubs was glowing red. Smoke was coming out from the edges. Una knew what that meant. A reactor pipe was behind that wall. If it exploded, the whole room would be filled with fire. She did not think. She did not have time to think. Una ran across the room faster than she had ever run before. She grabbed all 3 cubs in her arms and threw them toward the door. The explosion happened a second later. The wall burst open and flames shot out like angry snakes. Una felt the heat hit her back. She turned to shield the cubs with her body. Her right hand went up to protect her face. The fire touched her hand. The pain was worse than anything she had ever felt. It was like 1,000 needles being pushed into her skin at once. She wanted to scream, but she kept her mouth closed. The cubs could not see her in pain. They could not know how much it hurt. The emergency systems kicked in. Water sprayed from the ceiling, putting out the flames. Alarms rang throughout the station. Within minutes, the fire was gone. Only the black marks on the wall showed what had happened. Una's hand was burned badly. The skin was red and blistered. Parts of it were already turning white, which she knew was not a good sign. But she kept it hidden behind her back. The cubs were crying and shaking with fear. She knelt down and pulled them into a hug. Her good hand rubbed their backs gently. "It is okay," she said. Her voice was calm and steady, even though her hand felt like it was still on fire. "Everything is okay. You are safe now. Una." "What happened?" Rico asked. His voice was high with fear. "The wall. The fire? It was just an accident," Una said. "A small problem with the machines. But it is fixed now, see? No more fire." Bomi's small paws clutched Una's shirt. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I thought we were going to die." "You will never die while I am here," Una said. She kissed the top of Bomi's head. "I will always protect you. Always." Little Tay looked up at her with his big golden eyes. He did not say anything. He never said much. But his eyes were full of trust and love. The medical team arrived a few minutes later. They checked the cubs and found no injuries. Una had moved fast enough. She had saved them from the flames. When the medic asked if Una was hurt, she shook her head. "I am fine," she lied. "Just a little shaken up." Later that night, after the cubs were asleep, Una went to her small room. She locked the door and finally looked at her hand. The burn was bad. Very bad. She should go to the medical bay and get proper treatment. But she did not want to leave the cubs alone. She did not want them to worry. She found a first aid kit under her bed. With shaking fingers, she cleaned the wound and wrapped it in bandages. The pain made tears run down her face. But she did not make a sound. The cubs were sleeping in the next room. They could not hear her cry. When she was done, Una looked at her wrapped hand. The bandages were thick and clumsy. She would have to hide it. She would have to pretend everything was normal. For them. She would do anything for them. She lay down on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Her hand throbbed with pain. But in her heart, she felt only one thing: relief. The cubs were safe. That was all that mattered. Outside her window, the stars shone bright and cold. The station continued its slow journey through space. And somewhere in the distance, a new day was waiting to begin.